Hey, what's going on? I hope you're having a great day. And in this video, I just wanted to offer up a few tips and pieces of advice for gain staging. So the first thing I wanted to do is just show you this chart here. Now, it's important to realize that I'm going to be talking about gain staging in the digital system, not analog, not outside of your DAW. That is an important thing, especially if you are recording. But in this realm, we're talking about mixing. We're talking about mixing in the box, and that is what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be talking about dBFS, decibels full scale, looking at our things like your nominal peak level. That is pretty much the highest amount you might want to hit, and then the level of when you have digital clipping, and then looking at your noise floor. So again, this is just a helpful chart to sort of illustrate gain staging and the idea of, okay, if you're setting things up to work within these parameters here. So all right, so what are some good tips for gain staging? There's a few key rules that of course can always be bent, but one thing I would say is your master fader, okay, should always be higher than your individual tracks as a general rule. Now, there are times where you can, of course, bend this rule, but a good suggestion is make sure that that's the case. Another suggestion, your group, okay? So if I have this vocal group, which is comprised of my main and my backing vocal tracks, your subgroup track should be always the higher level than the individual tracks. Again, that is just a great way to make sure that you're kind of controlling that gain, because where you can run into problems with gain staging is if you have individual tracks that are all, you're setting different levels and everything's all really high here, then you've got this turned down, but you're not realizing, oh, actually everything is really crushing it, I'm just artificially lowering it. You can run into huge problems with gain staging that way. Another tip for gain staging, and then this kind of goes back to getting it right at the source, make sure that you're not recording too hot. This is something that if you have an audio interface, you can sometimes, they'll have some meters that'll tell you if you're clipping. You can have direct control over your gain. If you have a guitar, make sure that's not coming in too hot, whatever the case may be, because it's better to record things a little lower than might be optimal than record them too much, because it's a lot harder to, if you're crushing it, kind of roll that back if you're already getting distortion and you're already running into problems with gain. So for me, when I recorded these pianos here, now I doubled them and I did some things to get a louder sound, but I actually ended up, if you look at my compressor that I have on some of these things, I actually was unhappy with the level overall, but I could always raise that. I can always add gain. It's harder to take away gain that has been added in from the recording process. Another tip here for gain staging is be aware of any plugins you're using adding additional gain. A lot of these plugins, if you throw it on there, they might have some automatic, gain additions. So if you set in a plugin, especially if you're using a preset or doing anything like that, keep an eye on that, because one thing, and this can be any number of plugins. It can be a compressor, it can be tape delays, it can be distortion, it can be any number of plugins. If it's adding gain on the end and you aren't aware of that, if you just slap your plugin and you're just focusing on the other elements of that plugin, you're going to very quickly have problems with your gain staging and problems with your gain. Another tip here, again, watch your master channel. Use your eyes, especially when we're talking about levels. So set up your gain. That should be one of the first things you do when you open up your mix. So when you open up your mix and you've got all your tracks, that's one of the first things you should do is get an idea and set the stage, as it were, for your gain, and then look at your master level. If it's too quiet, then just turn your speakers up. Don't feel like you have to control everything by messing with the faders all the time, especially the master fader, because that can just get in your way. Another tip, make sure you're recording at 24-bit. Unless you are just recording on a toaster, you can record in 16-bit if you want, but 24-bit is going to give you a ton of more room that will make your gain situation a lot easier to manage. So those were just some quick gain staging tips. Again, some of them may seem obvious and simple, but I think it's something that so many people overlook, and it's a huge mistake to do that. Set yourself up right from the beginning and focus on your individual tracks and where everything is set up. Maybe create a template if you are struggling with it. Find a song or a project that really you have good gain staging for, and then make that your template. And I think you'll see some great results.